You a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight we are recapping the week's nerdy news from the Haley Circus all the way to Mandalore and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steven Haller. What's up, Steve?
Just holding down the rhythm section here, Mike. Just holding down
right.
the rhythm section.
That's right. Steve and I were about to go live, and then we decided to talk for 15 minutes about The Who.
Yes, because why not? As one does.
Yep. Why not? Positively, I should say.
Yeah, 100%.
Speaking positively about The Who.
Yeah, having various epiphanies on the various genres of music they decided to spawn.
Yeah, kind of invented the jam band and also punk rock and prog rock at the same time. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. You missed out on it. You could be a part of it if you pledge to our Patreon. You could get exclusive pre-show chit-chat if you want. That matters to you. If you just love us so much, you want to hear everything that we say. It's possible. It's possible if you subscribe to our Patreon. And after you subscribe to our Patreon, you should drive yourself down to a little place called Funky Town Comics and Vinyl in Camillus. They sponsor this podcast, and they are great. They're a wonderful comic book store, wonderful record store, wonderful store for nerdy toys, and really everything you could imagine. Am I right about that, Steve?
I would say you are.
Yeah. Maybe not everything you could imagine, but a lot of cool stuff.
They deal in mostly stuff that's imaginary, so yeah, I think we're there. At least 2/3 of it between the comics and toys. The music's real.
The music is very real. Very real. We got a good show, I believe, here tonight. A lot of DC stuff. A very small but possibly integral Star Wars thing that happened this week. I don't even know if Steve knows about it, but it's going to possibly cause
by the
many
sounds of it, might not.
Yeah. Many tangential moments in this episode. First, last little bit of business before we dive in to the story proper. I have an announcement to make.
You have a big announcement to make.
I should have made it last week, and I forgot about it, but still works for this week because it's more timely. Today, as I'm speaking, it is Sunday, October 6th. My son's birthday. Happy birthday, Sam. Tuesday, October 8th. Just a random Tuesday. Nothing else, nothing really special happening? Huh? What? No, you're wrong. You're wrong if you think that, because this Tuesday, I am launching a Kickstarter for my next comic book project. And when I say I mean me, my artist, Riley McFarlane, and in this case, our producer, Erie Rodica. Local Syracuse burlesque dancer, Erie Rodica, and I have teamed up for a story called Crown of Bones about 5 sexy undead monster queens teaming up to defeat an ancient evil, drawn by the wonderful Riley McFarlane, who worked on my Amazing Shakes comic book. My favorite artist in the entire world. This is different than my Amazing Shakes book in that it is a blend of action and horror, similar to the Amazing Shakes book. However, this is full of, as previously mentioned, sexy, scantily clad monster ladies, and a lot of raunchy, burlesque style humor. So if you're not into that kind of thing, I should say, then don't bother. Prudes need not apply. But this is a different kind of book. It's very fun. I believe it's very funny. It's also very cool, action-oriented, as I said. Perfect if you're looking to subscribe to get your eyes on some cool stuff for spooky season. Obviously, you won't be getting it this month, but it is going to Kickstarter on this Tuesday, October 8th. Now, the coolest thing about this entire project, besides the fact that it stars sexy undead monster ladies, besides the fact that the color scheme of it looks like a Lisa Frank, like
it really does.
Just exploding, coming to life.
Yeah.
Is not only a comic book. The comic book is being made to coincide with a live burlesque show that will take place at the Palace Theater in the summer of 2025. So we're going to have a comic book release party / Crown of Bones burlesque show. One of the reward tiers on the Kickstarter is that you get a ticket to said burlesque show with your pledge. So keep that in mind. There's also a lot of cool stuff. A lot of variant covers. Comic artist Holly Golightly did variant covers for us. She did one safe for work cover and one not safe for work cover of one of the characters in the book. Lots of other cool stuff you can get with the Kickstarter. If we have anybody that listening that enjoys makeup, there is an exclusive eyeshadow palette coinciding with the book, colors from the book, based on characters from the book, that you can get as an add-on to this campaign. That's a limited. There's only 90 of those available, but there'll be plenty of information about it on the Kickstarter page itself. So you can check that out. It's just very cool. So please check out Crown of Bones on Kickstarter. If you go to Kickstarter.com right now and search for Crown of Bones, you can sign up to be notified when it does launch. But I'm telling you right now, it's launching on October 8th, this coming Tuesday. And I believe it'll run for about a month. And hopefully we get it funded. And then, yes, the release date will be this summer, 2025, at the Palace Theater with a live burlesque show and a live performance from the real life Amazing Shakes.
And probably me sitting at a table in the foyer.
Very possibly.
Someone's got to sell your comics.
That's true. I'm not sure if they're doing mini-con. I'm sure that there's going to be a signing. I think there's going to be a live reading of the book somehow. The characters in the book, I should say, this is the cool part. The characters in the book were all cast and designed based on the real-life burlesque performers that will be portraying them in the live show. So costumes and things like that were all designed with their body types in mind and what would be possible for them to actually build in mind. So it really is a cool, like, multimedia experience. The Amazing Shakes have written a song called Crown of Bones, so that's going to have its own theme song as well at the same time. So a lot of different, like I said, a multimedia project, which I'm very excited about. It's something that we've been working on for a long time. Finally coming to Kickstarter this Tuesday, October 8th, Crown of Bones. Crown of Bones. Please check it out and pledge what you can. Be very appreciative.
I'll be there. I'll be pledging, and so should you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So this is also the sign that you're not going to hear me shut up about this for the
100%. Yeah.
So get ready. If you want to block me on social media, go right ahead, because it's mostly what I'm going to be talking about.
Yeah. Along those lines, though, there are other things comic book related that we could be talking about, which I think we might.
Yeah. One of those things I really want to talk about. Should we dive into the rundown?
Sure. Is this first one the one you really want to talk about?
This first one I'm very excited about. Very excited. We've had a number of DC announcements lately, or like DC stories, whether it's casting or Green Lantern casting, Supergirl casting stuff, like announcements of projects. Some projects make a lot of sense. Some projects don't make as much sense.
We'll talk about. Yeah, I was going to say we'll talk about one that makes no sense that we have explicitly stated makes no sense,
but might be making a little bit more sense after this week. But anyway, this first one makes a ton of sense. My voice cracked. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
I loved it.
Welcome to
makes a ton of sense.
Plus 40.
Yeah. Very excited about this news. James Gunn announced on social media this week a movie called Dynamic Duo. Now, normally, when you hear the phrase dynamic duo, you think of Batman and Robin. But we already know they announced a Batman and Robin movie called The Brave and the Bold, which, by the way, I would love to hear some kind of update on.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice, right?
More on that, too, because last week we thought that something else might be that, but it's not.
It's true. It's not. Well, I don't know. It could be.
Maybe.
It's not confirmed. No one knows anything until it happens. Anyway, this is the Dynamic Duo film that was announced is not a Batman and Robin movie. It is a Robin and Robin movie. The Dynamic Duo is going to be an animated film that is telling the origins of Robin's Dick Grayson and Jason Todd together.
Yep.
Now, I'm not sure how they're going to do that, because canonically, those two people are not Robin at the same time, and they are varying age differences. So I'm not sure how they're going to do this, but I'm very excited about it no matter what. DC Studios is partnering with a studio called Swaybox. They are a New Orleans-based animation studio that uses a mix of live puppetry, stop motion animation, and CGI. Owned by Teresa Anderson and her husband Arthur Mintz. Arthur Mintz is going to be directing the movie from a script by a guy named Matthew Aldrich, who wrote Coco, my favorite Pixar movie, and Lightyear also. Not as well received Pixar movie, but I think it's a pretty good, well-written movie. James Gunn is a producer alongside Anderson and Matt Reeves. This will be the first official green-lit project that's a teaming of DC Studios with Warner Brothers Animation. Now, James Gunn has said that animation is going to be a big part of his DCU. We know about Creature Commandos. There was some rumblings of a Jurassic League thing, but that wasn't ever officially greenlit. This is an official greenlit and announced project. Yeah. Dynamic duo. Now, Steve, I sent you a link to the Instagram page for this Swaybox studio where they have one or two compilations of what their work looks like.
Yeah.
And personally, I have to say this combination of puppetry, stop motion animation, and CGI looks incredible.
So did you, I can't remember if it was in what you sent me. Did you see the Iron Giant cuts?
No.
They did some remakes of Iron Giant.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, of like
I gotta watch
the boy in the, it's nothing that it's not like they remade the entire movie or anything, but they showed a couple of clips of it, and I was like side by side, and it was like, oh, okay, we're onto something here. Like this, this seems like a cool animation style that could work very well for, telling the story or being in this universe.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a unique look. It like the stuff that I saw on their Instagram page looked unlike anything I'd ever seen, really. Like the closest I would say would be something like Nightmare Before Christmas or Paranorman or Coraline or something like a probably more like Paranorman, like a newer stop motion thing. Not that Nightmare Before Christmas looks bad, but it just the combination, the fact that it's live action puppetry, but also some stop motion, some CGI, like all working together, just looked just totally unique to me. And thinking of any comic book movie being told in that style would be exciting.
Oh, 100%.
But then for this little DC boys rabid heart to have it be based on Dick Grayson and Jason Todd is incredibly exciting to me. And the fact that they are digging into not just one but multiple Robins backstories tells me that James Gunn's DCU is going to be doing what Warner Brothers should have been doing for years now, which is focusing on the Bat family and their relationships, because we know The Brave and the Bold is supposed to be focused on Damian more than it's supposed to be focused on Batman.
Yeah.
So all, these two movies combined really is kind of putting the spotlight on the Bat family and the Robins in a way that no one else has really considered doing before.
Did they confirm anything about Brave and Bold as to whether it was which Robin it was?
James Gunn confirmed that it would be about Damian.
Okay.
Because he loves Damian, because Damian's like a little shit, and
right.
That it would be he was going to be the star of the movie. Batman would be in it, obviously.
So what I'm hearing is this animated film is ultimately going to be the origins of Nightwing and Red Hood.
Red Hood. Well, yeah, that could
you
be
can only have one Robin.
Right. But it's going to be interesting to see what the timeline is like.
Right.
And how they tell, because there's Dick Grayson's origin as Robin is radically different from Jason Todd's origin as Robin, and the end of Dick Grayson's tenure as Robin is radically different from Jason Todd's tenure as being Robin. It didn't work out too well for him, but I'm just very excited to see just the possibilities are there, and are very exciting to me. And I highly recommend anybody going to the Swaybox social media and checking out their samples of their work because it really just looks incredible and very unique.
The Iron Giant clip that I was talking about, if you Google Swaybox Iron Giant or Swaybox Rescuers Down Under, it's actually it's a YouTube clip that they show the side by side of like the original cut of Hogarth and what their recreation of him is.
Yeah.
And then about midway through the YouTube clip, it shows like a scene they recreated from Rescuers Down Under.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it was quite impressive.
I believe they did a Super Bowl commercial last year or 2 years ago, and that's what really kind of
pushed them
up, put them on the map a little bit.
By the way, random. We talked about our Who rant. Iron Giant. Originally, the film was supposed to be a musical developed by Pete Townsend.
Is that true?
The film's development began in 1994 as a musical with the involvement of the Who's Pete Townsend.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, not to say that would have been bad, but the way the movie
would have been a very different movie.
The finished cut of Iron Giant is like a 5-star masterpiece of a film. So I'm glad that didn't happen because it might not have been a 5-star masterpiece of a film.
Right.
No offense to Pete Townsend, but wow, interesting.
Figured I'd bring that full circle on our conversation earlier.
Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, Steve, I don't know. There's another thing that I've read a couple times this week that I didn't actually put in the rundown.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you after we do this next thing, because this next thing's pretty quick and kind of ties in because it's DCU related. Now, last week, Steve, you and I talked about the announcement of a Bane and Deathstroke movie.
Right, where we thought it could go, why it could be a thing, what's going on.
Right. We both thought it was a strange thing to announce a team-up movie of Bane and Deathstroke, but then you had a brilliant idea, which I posted to our social media. You said, what if this is Brave and the Bold?
Right.
They are being cast as the villains in Brave and the Bold, and it's just there's, some wires getting crossed in the reporting, and that's why it's being said it's a Bane and Deathstroke movie, because they're the villains of it, but they're actually just going to be the villains of a Batman and Robin movie. Steve, I think you were right.
Yeah.
I think you were right. Apparently Deadline, I think the report that you and I were going off of was the Hollywood Reporter report
last week,
which was an exclusive report. And as I heard somebody say online this week, really, if you're following these scoops, you want to read more than you want to read all of the trades reports on them, because the one that did it first was likely rushed and could have missed a detail or two because of the rushness, because they want to be the first one to do it, so they might leave some stuff out. Deadline apparently reported the same story, and in their story, it said that yes, Bane and Deathstroke are in a movie together, but there's no certainty that they are the main characters of that movie.
Right.
So it could be like, just because they're in it and maybe they're the two most recognizable characters, it's talk around the offices. Oh, is that the Bane and Deathstroke movie? That's just like how they refer to it, other than the title. So when then that leaks or news gets out, it's called a Bane and Deathstroke movie, but it's not really. There are rumors that it could be a Secret Six film, which is not unlike Suicide Squad, but a little bit different than Suicide Squad.
Isn't Secret Six basically a Sinister Six ripoff?
Yes and no. Like, they're not really teaming up to go take somebody down. They're kind of like lesser known villains, except Bane has been on the team in the past. He's probably the biggest character that's been on the team that I know of. I've never really read too much Secret Six, so I can't talk about it too much. But I think the thing with Secret Six more than anybody else is they're failures. Like, they never really feel like they're accepted. They never feel like they're recognized, and they never really do a great job what they're supposed to do.
All right.
They're like worse than the Suicide Squad, but they don't have bombs in their heads. I think that's kind
fair
of
enough. Fair enough.
Gail Simone did a very well-known Secret Six run, highly acclaimed, which I would love to read, but I haven't read it yet. So it's possible that they're Secret Six film, but that's not guaranteed either. So you might have been 100% right, and maybe they are the villain Brave and the Bold movie.
Also,
I would love for that to come out.
Like, I almost feel like those two would be wasted in a movie like a Secret Six film if it's what you're describing.
You know what? I hadn't thought of that, but I don't disagree with that because those are two very
Right.
big villains,
especially
really, when they're done right.
Right, and especially post the prior runs of DC movies, they're villains that people know. Like post the Dark Knight trilogy, people know who Bane is.
Right.
People didn't know who the hell Bane was.
Yeah.
But they sure as hell do after Christopher Nolan made
Rises.
him like the forefront of that movie.
Right. And Deathstroke is still like, I wouldn't say he's like super mainstream, but like he was in the Titans show.
Yeah.
He's been in other things. He's been in the animated Teen Titans Go movie. So like he's been around.
For marketing, just have him keep his mask on and people will think he's Deadpool and problem will be solved.
Will go. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So my question, Steve, is this. When we're talking about Brave and the Bold, and we're talking about how there hasn't been any news on it at all.
Yeah.
One thing that I saw a couple times this week, and it wasn't reported from any kind of reputable source.
Yep.
So I didn't put it in the rundown, but I was just thinking about it. But this thing that I kept reading a couple times was saying that it's inevitable that DC Studios or Warner Brothers is going to change course, change their minds, and force James Gunn to put Robert Pattinson's Batman into his DCU.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think the tone is so like everything we're hearing, like, is Robert Pattinson's Batman going to interact with Creature Commandos? That just seems very tonally off.
It does.
Is Peacemaker, who we've had confirmed John Cena is Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Is he going to be in the same universe as Robert Pattinson's Batman and Colin Farrell's Penguin? I don't think so. And it just seems, unless they're going to keep everything very siloed within that universe, I don't see it working.
I personally kind of agree with you. I would prefer that Matt Reeves gets to do whatever he wants with his Batman universe, and James Gunn gets to do whatever he wants in the DCU. I see the appeal of wanting Robert Pattinson to go because you've already got a Batman that people like, that was successful. Superman's looking good. So, like, why wouldn't you want to use him? And James Gunn has said in the past that he likes the idea of having different characters in their own separate franchises have different tones. He's talking about making a Swamp Thing movie that's like a hard R horror movie, but also he's excited about the challenge of bringing a character that's radically different than Superman into a movie where they're interacting together, a Crisis movie or a Justice League movie or something. So, if James Gunn is willing to try to do that with like Swamp Thing and Superman, then he could probably figure out a way to do it with Robert Pattinson's Batman. Although I would rather it be separate still.
Would he be able to do that with Robert Pattinson's Batman without changing what Matt Reeves is intending?
Well, exactly. I think it all depends on what Matt Reeves's contract looks like.
Right. Well, and not even that though. I don't feel like Gunn doesn't come across as someone who's going to usurp that character.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But if his Warner Brothers bosses force him to, he may have to.
I mean, at the same time, you're James Gunn. You can just be like, all right, I'm just not going to do this. Like, he's already walked away from various things. Like, what?
I guess you could.
He could always just go back to another paycheck somewhere else. If they're not giving him the creative freedom he needs, what's he got hanging him there?
But do you think, here's the other part of this question, do you think that general audiences, and I'm not talking about you and me, who read comic books and see every comic book movie, whether we want to or not, most of them, I don't know if I'm going to see one that we're about to talk about later, but general audiences, are they going to be confused by having two different live action Batmen? If there's if Robert Pattinson is going to be his own thing, but then we're going to have Brave and the Bold with, I don't know, Ryan Gosling, first male actor I could think of. No rumors about Ryan Gosling being Batman. I don't think he'd be a good Batman. He's the first guy I thought of. Is that going to be confusing for people?
Sorry, I'm busy.
For general audiences.
My brain is thinking of Ryan Gosling as Batman and or Bruce Wayne, and it's just not. Okay. No, I think it might be confusing, but my counterpoint to that is, does it matter?
That's how I feel too.
Like, Batman is such a ubiquitous name that you throw that on anything and it's going to make money. And if it makes sense for the story, just run with it.
Yeah. And I think I've said this a million times on this podcast. I don't think there's any way that the tone of Brave and the Bold is going to be anywhere remotely close to the tone of the Batman.
No.
So I think it's going to be easy to be like, oh yeah, this one's lighthearted and goofy and smiles, and Robert Pattinson grunts and never smiles and punches people till they're bleeding. Like
right when Robert Pattinson can make Christian Bale's Batman seem sociable.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things.
Right. When Matt Reeves can out gritty the Dark Knight,
right?
Then yeah. So I think that, but then I'm starting to connect dots that may not be there, and I'm like, well, is the reason that we haven't heard anything about Brave and the Bold is because they want to wait until they figure out if they can do something with Pattinson, or they want to wait until the Batman Part 2 is out so they're not making announcements and confusing people at the same time? Like, I don't know. I'm just wondering. I'm just thinking, I'm hearing all these things and I'm seeing all these things and I'm just wondering. Because it is crazy to me that we haven't heard anything about Brave and the Bold. As we're getting Superman up and running, we're starting to hear about Sinister Six movies and movies about Robins, but Bane and Deathstroke, but no, like, who's Batman? Who's Wonder Woman? Do you have a Flash? Who are these?
Right.
Give us these tent poles a little bit more, and it's still, the goddamn universe hasn't even launched yet. So I'm talking about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. So who knows? Who knows? Just something that I thought of.
Should we shift to something that has happened yet?
Sure.
Just go with it.
That
didn't make sense in syntax, but just run with it. You know where I was going.
I listened to the Hot Mic podcast again this week, or parts of it.
Yeah.
They're talking about nerdy stuff. And John, one of the hosts, was saying, why are we getting all these DC announcements this week? These aren't things, these are things that are either far away or they're not rounded out, like the Bane and Deathstroke thing. Like, why announce something that's not completed? And none of this is a part of the original thing that James Gunn talked about. And then Jeff Snyder said, I know why they're announcing all this DC stuff, because Joker Folie à Deux is about to be released, and they're trying to distract people from the inevitable reviews,
which were
of Joker Folie à Deux. That's right. Joker is bombing, but not in like a fun, attacking Gotham City kind of way. Yeah. Joker Folie à Deux was originally projected to make over $100 million domestically. It opened to $40 million. It is against a $200 million budget. This is a movie that cost way more than the first movie to make, $200 million. Reviews are mixed to negative, mostly negative. I've read lots of reports of people walking out of the theater, people hating the musical aspect, either because they didn't know it was a musical or because it was executed poorly. People calling it pointless, people calling it tedious. My favorite review of it was I saw a critic refer to it as a movie for no one. And I completely understand what they mean by that. It's like, it's a sequel to, if you like the first one, you're going to see this movie. And this movie is a musical, which fans of the first one may not like at all. The people that didn't like the first movie aren't going to go see a sequel to a movie they didn't like, whether it's a musical or not. And especially even the people that like musicals had to deal with weeks and weeks of the cast saying like, well, it's not really a musical, like backing away from it. So like, what aspect of this movie is for anybody?
Right.
I don't know.
Then also as a musical, it wasn't like there was any original music in it.
Right. Yeah.
It was just
a jukebox musical. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It currently. I don't put a ton of stock in Rotten Tomatoes, but the fan score on Rotten Tomatoes is currently lower than the fan score for Madam Web.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes to me it's never a bellwether for whether a movie is good or not, but it's a very good bellwether for the cultural zeitgeist.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. It's never like, I like plenty of movies that don't look good if you look up the Rotten Tomatoes score.
Yeah.
However, there's, what the general perception of a movie is usually relatively reflected.
Right. Yeah. Either in the critic score or the audience score. Sometimes the audience score is
skewed
if the movie, stars a woman and fans were mad about it. Todd Phillips has stated that Joker Folie à Deux will be his last film in the world of DC Comics. Yeah, no shit. Nobody likes it.
But he made a boatload of money making it.
He made a boatload of money making it. That's for sure. He got paid a lot of money to do it. It's just kind of wild. I don't know. It's such a weird, when you look back at the track record. Okay, first movie makes $1 billion. So
which in
Warner
itself
Brothers
is insane.
Insane. So Warner Brothers, of course, wants a sequel. So Joaquin Phoenix, not somebody that loves doing sequels. Apparently, the only way that Todd Phillips can get him back if it's a musical, if it's radically, what if we make it a musical? And Warner Brothers must have been like, what? A musical? But if they want to make a sequel, if that's the only way that it's going to work out, then they say yes to it. But it's insane that they would say yes to that in the first place. It's insane that they would greenlight a musical sequel to Joker. And then you spend a month of press saying how it's not a musical and you're not showing any songs from it in the trailers and stuff. So of course people are going to be upset if they don't know that it's a musical and they saw the first one and love the first one and they go in and say, wait, this is what is this? I know it just seems like a misfire on many different levels, and that's a bummer, but at the same time, it's not really my cup of tea anyway, so I'm not personally upset about it not doing well, and I currently have no plans to go and see it. So that's that, I guess. You gonna rush out to see Joker Folie à Deux after this weekend?
I'm here talking to no one because my mic was muted. No, I 100% will not be. And I wasn't going to before, but I definitely am not going to now.
Yeah. This guy I follow on Letterboxd, who's like a comedian, improviser, writer, director, said that he walked out of the film after a half hour. Said the first half hour was the most incomprehensible shit that he's ever seen, and walked out.
That takes some doing.
Yeah, takes some doing for sure. So yeah, do we know anyone that has seen Joker Folie à Deux?
I do not. I know Brian's in the chat. Have you guys seen this giant mess of a movie yet? We'll find out soon enough because there's always a little bit of a delay.
Yeah.
Or he may be out at this point, but
that's true. If anyone watching or listening has seen Joker Folie à Deux, let us know what you thought of it, because it's still something that I might watch part of when it's on Max or whatever, when it's streaming. But I don't know. I'm going to treat it like I treated Madam Web or Morbius, I feel like. Something that I should watch so I can comment on it, but I'm not excited about it.
I might
treat
it exactly like I did Madam Web and get through 20 minutes and say, nah, we're good.
Or you could treat it like you treated Joker and just never see it.
Also true.
Just all reports indicating that the character, Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn, is just not Harley Quinn. at all. Like nothing about her is remotely close
Well,
to
isn't her
the
name
character.
just Lee Quinn?
Yeah. Yeah. They call her Lee. I don't think they call her Harley.
Right.
Well, there was a scene in the trailer where it says Joker and Harley, so I guess that's her full name, but I think he just maybe calls really as a nickname. But also apparently there's a bunch of scenes from the trailer that wasn't in the movie, like them dancing on the steps of City Hall. Like that's not even in the movie. I don't know. It just seems when you think about the whole story of this movie, it seems insane that it got made at all, and that anybody thought it was a good idea. But
and the ending is its own ending.
Yeah, I care so little about this movie that I looked up the ending because people were complaining about what happens at the end, and I looked it up and I was like, whoa,
yeah,
that seems like a real slap in the face to people that love this character. It just seems like, why would you end your movie that way? I don't know.
It was choices were
Like,
made.
what?
Mike. Choices were made.
Yeah. It seems like, again, I haven't seen this movie, but when you and I talk about Joker all the time, we always talk about how the fact is that a lot of the complaint about it is that it could have been it only got made because they called it Joker, but it could have been about anybody.
Oh yeah.
It didn't have to be this character from DC Comics. It could have just been a mentally ill guy that puts on makeup and starts murdering people. And it seems like that's the same with this movie, but I've also seen people that were angry because it's like apparently whatever happens in the movie seems to be commenting on people like it seems like a movie that hates its own fan base, that is like insulting the people that liked the first one in some way, making fun of the people for liking it or for wanting more of what the first one did. But like it's a sequel to the first one, so of course you should go expecting it to feel somewhat like the first one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, that's all I know about it, and I don't know anything else because I haven't seen it, and I'm not planning on seeing it anytime soon. Steve, you want to talk about Star Wars?
Much more so than I do that movie.
Me too. We talked about that way too long. Way too long, I gotta say. Giancarlo Esposito. The Chicken Man from Breaking Bad.
Still haven't seen that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you haven't seen Breaking Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he also plays a character called Moff Gideon in a
Seen
little
that.
series called The Mandalorian.
Definitely seen that.
Giancarlo Esposito was at Dragon Con this past week. He was asked about the future of Star Wars, and he had this to say. Quote, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have a new vision. Continuing on with the Mandalorian movie, my sense is that it is all going to converge at one point, and we're going to have another set of a trilogy or more of films. End quote.
Yeah. We're getting Heir to the Empire.
That's what you believe, that we're going to get a trilogy of Heir to the Empire?
We're getting Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Last Command.
Wow. Okay.
It's going to be whatever reinterpretation of those are. Like, they're setting up a token Force user in Ahsoka. They've got Thrawn coming back. You have Ahsoka's Padawan. Yeah, like there's too many little. Well, I guess Ezra back in the main galaxy, and
sure,
there's too many parallels to the Thrawn trilogy to just throw it aside. The Night Sisters could effectively be what Jorah Sabaoth was in those trilogies. Like, they can bring these analogs back. They can do what they need to do. They're gonna try it. And Filoni's gonna put his spin on it. I may be completely off, but that seems like what they're airing towards. I mean, they literally use the phrase "heir to the Empire" in Ahsoka.
Yep. They sure do.
I mean, if that's not setting up a potential direction, then it's just a nice little nod to us fans, which is also awesome. But I don't know. Do you want to see a trilogy of Mandalorian movies, Mike?
I want to see a Star Wars movie. I want to see a Star Wars movie.
I will take a Star Wars movie.
And we know the next one we're going to see is Mandalorian Grogu, and I can't wait. I'm very excited for it. I know you might be less excited about it, but I just want to see a Star Wars movie. And there's all these reports of the Rey movie being delayed because there hasn't been a ton of like movement on it.
That got shut down pretty good though.
Yeah, it hasn't been delayed, but it might just also be that they're just working on it. You know what I mean? Like there may not be.
That's kind of what they came out was like. It's not delayed just because we're not like
just because
actively
it's not ready.
pushing it. Like we're still
right.
We're making a movie,
and it could get delayed.
Right.
Like there could be something going on, but who knows? We don't know until we know. We don't know until they say anything about it. So, and there's still a whole lot of people online that love hating on the sequel trilogy, and if that is influencing Lucasfilm's thoughts on continuing the Rey's story, then that's a shame. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we're still going to get that movie and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
But I can understand them making a trilogy of Mandalorian movie. Like the Mandalorian. And this goes back to, when you and I were like, why are they making a Mandalorian? And I was more excited about it than you when they first announced it. But going back to that general idea of why do this? Like, think about all the new characters that we've gotten from Star Wars since Disney took over. Who's the most generally loved and accepted one? Probably the Mandalorian. Right? Other than characters of Rogue One, which you can't really continue with. Spoilers for Rogue One.
Right.
It's the Mandalorian.
It's got to be. It's got to be the Mandalorian or Ahsoka, and they're both going to be in this feature.
Right. So, like, making a movie out of the Mandalorian makes tons of sense when you think of it like that. Like, oh, this is a character that all the fans love. All the fans love, more or less, the Mandalorian.
Yeah. And
it's not a character. It's not a series that gets a bunch of shit talked about it online, like Rise of Skywalker or The Last Jedi or whatever. Like, so thinking about it like that makes tons of sense that they would make at least a movie with the Mandalorian, especially. And Jeff Snyder made this point on the Hot Mic this week too. That in general, we're seeing the rise and fall of the streaming service bubble in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Things getting canceled, things getting, budgets getting slashed or whatever. If you have a huge Star Wars character that's popping with fans, why are you wasting him in a TV show? Put him in a movie. Star Wars is a cinematic franchise. You got a character that's connecting with fans. Turn it into a movie. Stop wasting them on Disney Plus.
I mean, one would think.
But
you also have the risk of, if you don't have a solid script or a solid premise for that movie, to waste that character almost.
Right.
If he's working in TV, and yes, season 3 was what it was, mostly because it didn't really feature him. But if
they were forced to change their original idea for season 3.
Yeah, there's a whole lot that went on between season 2.5, Boba Fett mess, and 3 and whatever. The whole thing is like, if he's working there, why do you move him? Because can you write him for that, or is it going to work there? Yeah. Likely yes, but you have that risk as well.
You do. And apparently it's been confirmed that what the movie is going to be was originally the idea for season 4. They took season 4 and are turning it into a movie.
Yeah.
Which I think would probably be a better idea than taking an idea you had for a movie and turning it into a series.
Yeah.
Because something like Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan show, which I like a lot, I think would have been way better if it was a
yeah.
You're taking what would have been 2 hours and stretching it into 6 hours.
That's a lot of time. Ahsoka season 1. Cut that down to a movie.
It could have been a movie.
Probably tighter and better.
Agreed. So I am more or less down for a Mandalorian trilogy. If that's what they're going to give us, then I will take it. As long as it looks like a movie and not like a TV show. Not that the show looks bad, but less volume, more location shooting.
Right.
then I'm good to go. But I also still want a Rey movie. I also still want that stuff. And, whatever Sean Levy's going to do and whatever James Mangold's going to do, like,
right.
Get that stuff going. Like, I want to know. Like, when's the celebration? Next year, right?
Yeah,
Right?
can't remember what month.
It's in Japan.
Yeah.
Right? It's like April or May or something. I really hope we get more updates on those things they announced at last celebration.
Yeah. No, that'd be great.
I want an update. I want a theatrical release date. I want something. I want something more than just Daisy Ridley coming out and waving. I want that too, but come out with John Boyega and Oscar Isaac or something. Like, give me something. Tell me this is still happening. But also, give me more info. If you're making a trilogy of Mandalorian movies, tell me that and make them. I want some firm lines drawn in the sand here. Because Star Wars, I miss you. I miss you. I want you back in my heart. Please.
That'd be wonderful. That would be 100%.
It'd be wonderful. We did get Acolyte, which I loved, and we also are getting Skeleton Crew in December. But again, theatrical Star Wars, please.
Speaking of John Boyega and something you'll appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear that he's going to be Otis Redding?
Otis Redding.
That is going to be amazing.
That is cool.
You had me at Otis Redding.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Love me some Otis Redding. Steve, we actually have a comic book story to talk about. I feel like it's been a long time since I've put any actual comic book news, and we just go right to reviews. But I don't have a review. It's been a long time since I've had a review. Also, I did not make it to the shop this week. I need to get back there.
I made it to the shop, and then we got talking about other things and forgot to ask them about a review.
Okay. Well, perfect. Shocking announcement from DC Comics. Shocking announcement. They're actually going to make some comic books for kids.
What?
Will
you do that?
Unheard of. This is something that Steve and I talk about all the time. Why don't they make comic books that are more directed at children? Children. They make a ton for teenagers and adults, but you got to hook them while they're young.
Right.
And DC, to their credit, does a lot of like one-shot graphic novels that are for kids and younger readers and stuff. I believe this is a straight-up comic book series, which I'm excited about. DC is going to be releasing more comics for early readers and middle-grade audiences, starting with a comic called Superman Good Guy Gang, which is great. Alliterative term for basically the Justice League, but calling it a Good Guy Gang is like a fun, G-rated version of that.
Make it the kid hit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good Guy Gang will debut next summer, kind of in the run-up to the new Superman movie. Series is going to feature a young Clark Kent who feels isolated and overwhelmed by his superpowers and being the only one with superpowers that he knows, until he meets Hawkgirl and Green Lantern, characters that happen to appear in the Superman movie. Some synergy right there. They're going to form a little team and use their superpowers together and figure out how to use their superpowers working together. The book will also go on to introduce Wonder Woman, Batman, and more
so this
characters.
Is Team Justice League.
Yeah, Team Justice League is kid version.
Well, Teen Justice League.
Oh, Teen.
Like Teen Titans, but...
Well, maybe. I think the thing that I read said that Superman's going to be like 10 years old or something. So a child, like a little kid. So it's
weirdly,
a radically different approach.
Like we're talking about this, the only, like my son's quote unquote pull, like the books I have on my pull for him, are all DC except for Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures.
Well, because like no offense to Marvel, but I don't think they have anything that's
not really
aimed at kids.
Dude, give me a young X-Men team. Like give me anything
Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Like you have a TV show, Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Amazing Friends.
Make an ongoing. Why
no reason not to. Why not?
But like right now he's pulling what? My Adventures with Superman, Batman and Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And Turtles. Oh, and that Batman and Howard, or Batman and Robin and Howard. He
Is that great?
Loves those.
Oh, I should get that for my son. I haven't.
Yeah.
I've heard that, but I've heard of that book, but I haven't read it.
That's awesome. It was. I bought it on a whim because it looked like a kid's book. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And he's like, this is great. I'm like, all right, guess guess we're going with
Nice.
that. Like anything we
They
get
also
you
have
reading.
these. They also have a series. DC has a series of like short chapter books.
Oh
That's
yeah.
like
Yep.
Justice League characters that my son is. He's in 3rd grade, and they're doing a big like nightly reading push of like
Right.
reading alone. And I know your son, like, you can't get him to put down a book. My son likes reading but doesn't love reading, so
Yep.
like this is really helping him kind of get on board. And he's in the middle of a Justice League book right now that he's reading himself and is
Yeah.
digging it. And I got him a couple more over the weekend. So, yeah, I don't know why they're not doing that with Spider-Man. Like, get a book like a Miles Morales book that's like, maybe it takes place in between the 2 Spider-Verse movies or something.
Yeah.
Like tie it into something that they've already seen, but make it PG. You could easily do that. I don't know why you're leaving money on the table, Marvel.
I don't like it, but you're pushing Spider-Boy so hard. Use him.
Sure. Yes. Use anything.
Use whatever you're going to use.
Like, Captain America could be a great
Captain
kid.
Marvel. Captain whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
Any captain you have, turn them into a child.
Yeah, Captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, X-Men, young X-Men team, or even like Hulk or something. Talk about anger management issue like that. You have so much potential.
Yeah, dude, give me the 05, like the original 5 X-Men when they're in school.
Right.
Like,
yes.
Make it that Charles got, like, they went to the mansion when they were 10 instead of, 18 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
It's money on the table. And also, you should be making movies. You should be making PG-rated movies of your superheroes. Taking them seriously. And,
Which somehow, by the way, somehow my son went and saw 2 movies this weekend.
Went and saw 2 movies?
Yeah.
Did he see Joker, Folie à Deux?
No, he did not. He saw 2 better movies than that, apparently.
Did he see Transformers 1?
He saw Transformers 1 with his buddy Jacob there, who's obsessed with Transformers. And then...
Did he see the Wild Robot?
Yes. Which he,
Did he love it?
Was utterly obsessed with. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fuck, I gotta see it.
Yeah. He was like, that is great. I'm like, can I go back with you and see that?
Awesome.
Like, I want to see that.
Yeah. I've heard nothing but good things about the Wild Robot. It looks really, really good.
Yep.
Definite Iron Giant vibes. Call that back.
So, of course, this weekend is the weekend I'm out of town, and my wife, who couldn't care about Transformers, and she thought Wild Robot was good too, but I was like, these are the 2 I wanted to see. Come on. So, yep. It's overall both apparently were good. So
nice.
That works.
Nice. Also in this DC line of comics for kids, there's going to be a book called Birds of Prey Origins, which is more of a young adult adventure featuring teenage versions of Batgirl, Huntress, Black Canary, and Harley meeting up as teenagers before they even have these personas. It's Barbara and Dinah and Harleen, Helena. So yeah, it's just cool. That's good job, DC. Make comics for kids. Yes, smart move. I hope this is wildly successful for them. So you don't have a review. You said
I feel like it can only help them in the long run.
It can only help them, right?
Yeah.
If you hook a kid when they're 10, then when they're 14, they can start reading your mainline books.
Right. Hi, that's why we're still here.
Exactly. Except I didn't read kids' comic books. I just read regular comic books.
We just read comic books when we were kids.
Yeah, because my parents didn't realize that they had the violence and sex and language that they did in them. He's like, it's Batman. It's like the Adam West show, right? Yeah, it's fine. Oh,
what's this Wolverine book? Oh.
Yeah. Who's this hobgoblin character that Spider-Man is fighting? Yeah, that's fine.
Yep, that's normal. Yeah,
I had a Spider-Man book when I was a kid that was like the Spider-Man versus Hobgoblin, but also Ghost Rider was in it. And so there was like
nothing like a Spirit of Vengeance for a good 10-year-old.
Yeah, it was like really creepy hobgoblin stuff, and also a dude with a flaming skull head on a motorcycle. I was like, what am I reading? I'm 10.
Well, it was, I remember getting, and I still have all the books somehow. It was like a package about this thick of all, it was completely arbitrary. Spidey 376 was the best part of it, which was like, I think it was first full Venom or first cameo Venom.
Yeah.
Which I now have a actual copy of because I read it so many times that the cover fell off.
Yeah, classic.
Most of those books from that era are of that ilk because I only had so many of them, so I just kept reading them.
Yeah.
But there was like a Thor when it was Eric. What's his name?
Oh yeah. I don't
when
remember.
he used a machine gun and shit, and it was like this wild. I'm like, I was reading these when?
Insane. That's
Yep.
wild. That is wild. Well, this week in your local comic book store, you may find the following: Absolute Batman #1, much anticipated release of Absolute Batman #1. Also, Action Comics number 1070, Amazing Spider-Man number 59, Batman and Robin number 14, Batman Gotham by Gaslight,
Yes.
Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age number 5, Blade Red Band #1, Conquest 2099 #1, DC versus Vampires World War V #3, Exceptional X-Men #2, Fantastic Four #26, Garfield #3, Green Lantern Civil Corps Special #1, so a one shot. Johnny Quest #3, Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay #2, Phoenix #4, Precious Metal 5, Sentinels #1, Space Ghost #6, Spider-Man Black Suit and Blood #3, Star Wars Ahsoka #4, Star Wars Ewoks #1, Terminator #1, Toxic Avenger #1, Transformers #8, Ultimates #5, Venom #38, Venom War Wolverine 2, X-Force #4. Bam. I have no memory of writing the word Toxic Avenger #1. I have no memory of doing
That's
that.
the one with the Matt Flint cover, man.
I know that.
Yeah.
But I have no, like, I just must have instinctively wrote that. I don't remember reading it. All these other ones, I'm like, yep, I remember when I wrote that down. Yep, I remember when I wrote that. Yep, I remember when I wrote that because I spelled that
Nothing
wrong.
on
Yep,
that.
I remember when I wrote that. Just nothing. But yes, exclusive Matt Flint cover for Toxic Avenger #1. Matt Flint is a friend of the pod, friend of ours, friend of Funky Town Comics and Vinyl, available exclusively at Funky Town Comics and Vinyl. If you're looking for Toxic Avenger #1, go get your Matt Flint cover.
Mm-hmm.
There. Of these, you've got Star Wars Ewoks highlighted. I think I might pick that up, or at least look at it, because I don't know anything about it.
It's apparently a miniseries set after Return of the Jedi because of the 40th anniversary of Ewoks Caravan of Courage.
Yes. Yes.
Anyone who didn't see the pod, Mike was full yawn, and it snapped him out of that to laugh at the fact that it was the 40th anniversary of Caravan of Courage.
You and I talk about doing commentaries for our Patreon. We haven't done one yet.
Yeah.
We really should do one. And every time I think about it, I'm not sure what movie we should do. We should do one for Ewoks Caravan of Courage.
That might be a solid. Yeah. We may
That's like a solid one, right?
Yeah, that's up there.
Like part commentary, part Mystery Science Theater.
Oh, that's great. I think you might be onto something here.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Sentinels. Did you hear about Sentinels?
No. I was surprised to even see it.
So Sentinels is based on the Sentinel program and the next evolution of it in the X-Men mythos.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah. So it's actual people in Sentinel suits.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
are they still giant?
No, they're like Sentinel size. They're like human, slightly larger than human size Sentinels.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Looks like they're just wearing armor.
So kind of like Pacific
Iron
Rim
Man
style.
No,
but not that big.
Yeah, just like Iron Man.
Iron Man is a better example. Yeah.
The one that's already in the Marvel universe.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like it's basically Iron Man suits with Sentinel tech, which they've also already done before, but that's a different thing. But whatever. I feel like at this point everything they've already done before. So
yeah. So is the point of view from the Sentinels?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's from this new Sentinel team.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
You gonna be picking that up?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's one of those where I'll definitely grab the one and see if it sticks and go from there.
Yeah. I think I might have to try Absolute Batman #1 because it seems insane. Doesn't seem like the Batman I like, but it also seems fun and cool and crazy in a way that I might enjoy.
Is that that's the Rob Liefeld looking cover, right?
Yeah, he's enormous.
Looks
He's
like the
got
cap, the standard Liefeld Captain America.
Yeah, just way too
yeah,
physically big. Yes, yeah. He's got
just
like
is 7 times too large for anybody.
yeah, his cape is like a blade somehow, and he's extra violent and doing
cape
like
blades.
Akira motorcycle slides and stuff like. But it kind of looks fun and cool and wild and over the top, in a way that's like, yeah, we know we get this is over the top. That's
right.
The fun. That's the fun of it, right? So,
well, I mean, that's
that
kind
out.
of the same thing of like with Sentinels. I'm like, I'll pick up the number 1 and see what it does, and
right, yeah,
like okay, I can drop for 1 issue. I may not pull it,
yeah.
but it's at least worth a look.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll probably grab that Toxic Avenger cover, or at least Matt's cover of it for sure.
Absolutely. So. If nothing else, support Matt Flint and support local artists.
Yeah, in general, including me, who's not a drawing artist, but I'm a writer artist. And once again, I'll end this show the way I started it. Kickstarter.
Hold on.
What?
Going back to Joker Foliado.
Okay.
You know how CinemaScore, like, usually it's like a B rating is bad?
Yeah, CinemaScore is like a site that rates your movie, and
it's always instant reactions coming out of the theater.
Yeah.
Do you know what Joker got?
I don't.
D.
Oh, man.
The lowest ever for a comic book movie.
Lowest ever?
Yep.
Yikes. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a real stinker this got to be. CinemaScore is largely linked to how a movie does in its second weekend.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people look at the CinemaScore when they're like, oh, it dropped 70%. Yeah, but it got a CinemaScore of a D.
Yeah.
So I can't see this movie having a ton of legs.
Doesn't seem like it does.
What does have a ton of legs are all the sexy monster queens that you can find in Crown of Bones, a comic book that I wrote. That is going to be on Kickstarter this Tuesday, October 8th. Kickstarter, Crown of Bones, a burlesque comic book that will culminate this summer in a live burlesque show at the Palace Theater in Syracuse, New York. That's me, Riley McFarlane on art, Erie Rodica as our story and producer. And check that out. And I'm mentioning that again because I don't have anything else to talk about.
There you go. Neither do I. But you know what we should do? We should tell people to go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Multiverse Report. Check us out on socials. Mike's been much more active there recently. The Multiverse Report, wherever you find it. Beyond that, check us out, themultiversereport.com, multiversereport@gmail.com. And we'll be talking into your ear holes weekly, as always, at somewhere between 9:30 and 10 on a given Sunday.
That's right. That is right. And until then, what is it? As the two suns set.
Yep.
That's what it is. As the burnt suns is what I almost said.
As the burnt sun set on the two corpses. As the
burnt sun's corpse on the Owen and over the Lars, we say. That's made sense, right?
Sure.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time on the Multiverse.